Okay, we are going to get started now. And I am very pleased to welcome all of you. I am Susan Inglis, a Direct Sustainable Furnishings Counsel. I have put you all on mute, but I look forward to hearing from you. So please, as we're going through our webinar today, put your questions and comments in using the box on the right-hand side of your screen. And after we finish the presentation, we will turn our attention to the discussion with you of what your questions and comments are. I am very pleased to welcome you all to today's webinar, The Mind of the Consumer, which is a review of the consumer research that we've done this year with MOCA Plus. And I'm perfectly delighted that Michela O'Connor Abrams is with us for this discussion, and she will be contributing as we go along. Thank you, Michela, for being here.
My pleasure, Susan.
I am going to start with information about our organization. For those who have not been on these webinars before or heard of us before, I want to be sure you all know that we are celebrating 15 years this year. We are a membership organization. Our members are companies that are involved in residential furnishings in various ways. So they include design firms like many of you work in, and stores and manufacturers of all kinds of furnishings products and suppliers of materials, and international conservation organizations, which were particularly helpful as we began and were determining what are best practices for sustainability in our industry, and which remain very active with us now. We are an educational organization more than anything else, providing a lot of information not only for our 400 member companies, but for the industry at large in things like this particular webinar series. We are very concerned, though, with helping the whole industry reduce environmental footprint and helping consumers find the more environmentally safe furnishings that we know they would prefer. And you'll be hearing more about that today. We have about 400 member companies now. Each of them has made their own public and verifiable commitment to sustainability, to transparency, and to continuous improvement. And we help them realize their commitment, which does vary from company to company, which points of focus they have. We also provide, particularly for the interior design segment of our industry, education that counts for continuing education units, including today's presentation is a CEU. So I will be happy to make sure that you get your credit for attending. This is one of several CEUs that we have. Putting 6 of them together amounts to our Green Leaders course, which is an overview you might be interested in exploring if you're interested in what we are discussing today. As you all probably all know, sustainability is an umbrella term, and there are lots of issues that fall under this wide umbrella. We in our organization tend to worry about all of them, and we know we must keep our focus on areas where we can make the biggest difference the most immediately. There are a lot of them. The home furnishings industry is directly related to most sustainability issues. We are a global manufacturing industry, so we use a lot of energy, generate a lot of CO2 emissions with the factories that we are running to manufacture all sorts of products, and in transporting materials and finished goods all around the world. Many of those finished goods are made of wood, whether the wood came from where the factory is or not. We use a lot of wood in our industry, and so have a large responsibility for halting deforestation. So that is something that we focus on a lot in our work. Another major point of focus is on indoor air quality and the presence not only of chemicals that compromise the quality of our indoor air, but also on other hazardous chemicals that are common in the furnishings industry, some of which are making us sick and also damaging other life on the planet. A lot of toxic waste is generated in making furnishings products as well as all other consumer products, but the textile industry is particularly chemical intensive and does result in very much pollution, as does the leather tanning industry, though leather is also a durable material and itself a byproduct material. So it is a good example of how sustainability issues are always on a scale, and each of us as individual specifiers, as individual consumers, have to make choices based on our own priorities. The priorities should be including social equity issues. Many of us are shocked to learn how much forced labor is still used, and many of us are shocked to realize how much furniture is thrown away. 6% of US landfill waste these days is furnishings products. So that is way more than we should be throwing away. We are pleased to do our best addressing these issues and helping the industry address these issues with initiatives. Our What's It Made Of initiative is to encourage transparency in our very complex supply chains and to stimulate innovation towards the elimination of the handful of hazardous chemicals that are most commonly found in furnishings products. There are, of course, tens of thousands of harmful chemicals in our world, in our consumer products, but these 5 are the ones that are most common in furnishings, and that seems like it ought to be manageable. All of these are persistent in the environment and directly linked to harm to human health and, of course, to other life on the planet. So we are hoping to encourage you to avoid them. And we are also, as I said, very concerned about the forests of the world. So on the subject of what things are made of, we are pleased to be working this wood furniture scorecard initiative also with partners. And this is to look at retailers' practices in sourcing wood furniture to see whether they are implementing policies that ensure they are not inadvertently contributing to deforestation, and to help them understand how they can get more and more information about the wood in their supply chains. The scorecard assessments are happening as we speak, and the results will be published in October. Our work is important. Our work is important because of how the planet has changed since early in the Industrial Revolution. You can see here temperature anomalies, weather anomalies. You're seeing climate change. You're seeing here how the planet has warmed up since early in the Industrial Revolution. So this is a picture of the accumulation of CO2 emissions in our atmosphere that are causing dramatic climatic changes that are affecting us all. And this is one of the main areas where we work, but it's related to all these other areas. So with our members in working groups and with all of the industry in conversations like today's, we focus our work on these 6 different aspects of sustainability: reducing carbon emissions, maintaining health and wellness, ensuring social equity, reducing waste, managing water, and incorporating circularity. Importantly, our research since we began it in 2008 has shown that consumers are concerned about the range of sustainability issues. And so it is very important to us that you all understand what consumers are thinking and what their current priorities are. So we are very, very pleased to have Michela with us today. Thank you, Michela, for being here. Michela and I first met when SFC was new and when Michela was CEO of Dwell Media, having built it by that time from its startup phase to being an internationally recognized media brand. And by then, of course, Michela, you had also led other companies from startup to turnaround or to high growth, including IDG and SoftBank and McGraw-Hill and Ziff Davis and Future Media. So in founding MOCA Plus, with its innovative approach to design thinking and leadership for companies, which you're going to tell us more about, you brought a lot of perspective and experience that we are pleased to currently be benefiting from as you serve on our board. So thank you for your generosity with that service. Thank you for doing the research that we're talking about today. Thank you for all your work. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about MOCA Plus and your work?
Well, after all those accolades, maybe we should stop right there. No, Susan, it has been a pleasure and an honor to be working with you and watching you through the years since the founding of SFC, and of course the journey we took together through the world of design. And I really can't say enough about how important the work is and why doing this research this year based on the Design Insights Forum, which I began and built in 2009 at Dwell, because I was interested in making sure we all knew the why, not just the what. So there are venerable research brands in the country that are alive and well and do a stupendous job of tracking the numbers of people and trends. But there was never a background of why. And so the Design Insights Forum, which then was called the Dwell Insights Group, was there specifically for that reason, to use the same agreement statements that those samples do, but to create panel-based research. And so we did that, and we currently have and tapped into, for this purpose, 8,000 panel members that opt in. We do not pay them. It's because they have passed the screener on their understanding and love for design and its impact in the world, very critical issues like sustainability, and then their income that we track, and of course also where they are in the US, and this is a US study. So when we were able to employ this panel to do this research for Sustainable Furnishings Council, what I love the most is we could take the studies that you had been doing over the years and look at it even in a deeper way, but keeping it longitudinal so that we had trending information, and be able then to show a lot more about why people are doing what they're doing and understand the insights, right? Because with data and knowledge come the most important insights from which we can really then take efficient and effective actions.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for drawing on that very important larger group to bring it down to this group of 500 people that we've surveyed for today's, for the research we're talking about today. And like you said, this has been a survey that we've been doing for a long time. So I'm going to start by making sure I push the right button. And I'm going to start by talking about things that we have discussed over the year, or gathered information on over the years of this survey. as I said, sustainability is an umbrella term. It is not well defined or has not been well defined in most people's mind. It is not regulated. It's used interchangeably with other terms that describe this general idea, this general area. And we have seen some interesting changes over the years. We originally called our survey the Green Consumer Survey, but we have seen a decided drop in preference for that term. So we're looking here at what term people prefer when they are describing this general area of products that are good for the environment. And green is only 7%. The largest segment here now is sustainable, and we've seen a real shift in that. It used to be that sustainable was down in the teens, was a very small percentage. We think that this preference has grown because people are hearing enough that they're actually beginning to know what it means and beginning to understand that it means something significant. Eco-friendly and environmentally safe have always been popular in our survey on terms. And that, I believe, continues to make sense because all of us want our homes to be friendly and safe. And eco-friendly or eco-safe or environmentally friendly, any combination of these terms is very easy to understand. But it is significant today that sustainable has become the preferred term. As I said, we do see that consumers are concerned about the range of sustainability issues, but look now at how concerned they are. Everybody is at least 90% concerned about at least one of these issues. We are worried people, and our worry is increasing. We look here at the comparison with 5 years ago, and we see that we're more worried about everything. And this is really remarkable. When we started doing this research in 2008, about half of all people were worried about any particular issue that we asked them about, but now it is everybody. And as I said, since we are concerned about all the issues, but know we have largest impact in some areas, we've drilled down on some. We have seen a big change in how worried people are about climate change. Now 91% of us understand that it's an issue, and fully 65% of us see how it affects us directly. Similarly, we see a lot of concern about indoor air quality. 93 of us understand that it's an issue, and 43% of us identify ourselves as directly affected. So maybe somebody has asthma, maybe somebody has had some treatment that has us especially sensitive to indoor air quality. But this is a huge amount of concern about this particular issue, and also one where we have seen a lot of growth in the last 5 years.
Susan,
Yes,
I want to add one thing that's so interesting and probably a blinding glimpse of the obvious, but coming out of COVID, what we're seeing is the rise in the sale of indoor air purifiers and HEPA filters and integrated filters into HVAC systems has grown in 12 months by 36%. So that just underscores.
Yeah, that is huge growth.
And I think that is not something that will roll back after we're safely, completely out of COVID.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is remarkable. Yeah. Um, Thank you for adding that, Michaela. Because we know people are taking actions like buying an air filter when they're concerned about the quality of their indoor air, we ask them about what all environment friendly habits they have now. And we have seen that these have that the percentage of people engaging in these habits, adopting these habits, has gone up. But it's interesting that recycling at home has remained on the top. So we've had recycling programs in our municipalities for decades. Now, though, some of those municipalities are losing their markets for recycled materials. We're all pretty good and in the habit of recycling. We also are in the habit of choosing more energy efficient options when we're replacing light bulbs. They're readily available. More of us are remembering the reusable shopping bags that we use, etc. We are also buying eco-friendly products, and we've been seeing this going up. 46% of us have bought eco-friendly products, and that might include organic foods, a hybrid car, etc. But they're buying products is something that we're going to be talking about specifically around furnishings products. I want to point out to you that what I've just showed you is that in this last year, when so many of us, most of us, have spent more time at home and with such a large concern about the issues, nearly 90% of us are doing something at home. 87% of us are doing something at home that is one of these environment friendly habits. And 80% of us are doing shopping related things. The other rates are really high too. 73% of us are making environment friendly choices around our food and beverage choices, and 56% of us around our driving choices. But looking more at purchasing, because we're especially interested in buying habits, especially with 46% of consumers saying that they have bought eco-friendly products. So we asked about the categories they've purchased in. Top of the list is those green cleaning supplies, which is not surprising because they're on the same shelf where you're going to buy any kind of cleaning supplies. And next is paper products, also not surprising because those are on the same shelf in the same stores where you're going to buy office paper that is not recycled content, for instance. And like I just said, the light bulbs, when you're buying them, there are going to be eco-friendly, less energy intensive choices. And those choices are going to have better color ranges than they used to have. Those choices are going to be very easy for you to make. So all of these things that are at the very top are the very easiest choices. And I'm going to emphasize that because sometimes people look at those choices that are at the very top and think, oh, those are the least expensive products. But in fact, the more significant thing about them is the rate at which they are readily available. 35% of the consumers we've surveyed have bought eco-friendly home furnishings, and that is a number that we've seen going up. But there are still a significant number of them that are not buying eco-friendly home furnishings. And so that is something that we want to know more about. And it is surprising to some of us that still people do not know that eco-friendly home furnishings exist, even though we've been talking about it for 15 years. But what do you have thoughts on this, Michela, on the fact that there's still not much awareness?
Yes, I do. I think in general, we have developed a vocabulary, if you will, that you made this very good point that sustainability is this overarching term under which has been eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, green, etc. So part of this is a lack of confidence and assuredness around the purchase that they're making with that label. And the other one is that they're not sure exactly what that's going to mean to them. How does that affect the comfort and the style? And they don't know if, in fact, this choice means that they're going to sacrifice something else. So truly, and I know we see this in the research that the awareness and the whole understanding is improving greatly, but we have ways to go. And as manufacturers and significant brands need to almost be a little bit more primer-like in their descriptions and marketing materials to understand the appeal, that it isn't something that is less than, you're not sacrificing everything else in order to be safe with the products.
Great. I am turning off my camera because my computer has made an objection, but I will be keeping on talking, and I'm glad, Michela, that you can we can keep on seeing you. So that thank you very much for expounding upon that. That's important. The next thing we asked the consumers we've been surveying is what their expectations are when they hear a product claiming to be eco-friendly. So what do they think when they hear that it's eco-friendly? The first thing they think is that it is the right thing to do to choose this product. The second thing they think is that it would be interesting to learn more. So that gives us a whole lot of opportunity. And then the third thing they think is that it will certainly cost a lot more. Importantly, a lot of us think that if the company is offering eco-friendly products, they are a good company. And for many of us, it's going to be, well, for 28% of us, I should be using more precise terms, it is going to be our first choice. And for some of us, we're doubtful. We don't know what it means, as you were saying, Michela. But what I want to point out is that only 2% of us are not interested when we hear it's eco-friendly. And we can compare that with 5 years ago, where we see that the conviction that choosing this is the right thing to do has gone up. It's growing. Wanting to learn more is growing. And our concern about cost is changing too. You have pointed out, Michela, that though we might expect it's going to cost more, we are not so worried about that.
Right. Well, and just one point there, we're not so worried about it because as the population comes to understand a bit more, and this number here about wanting to learn more is huge. Because when somebody is saying, just tell me more about what I need to know to make the right choices, it's everybody's opportunity. Organizations like SFC and all the brands and our members, it is our collective responsibility to take the opportunity then to educate, but not in a professorial finger shaking way about right and wrong, just about what's the opportunity that we each have and how easy is it really. So I think it's important here that we also know that the idea that people don't care or think that they're going to have to sacrifice something, that they just are unwilling to sacrifice in order to make a choice, that's really waning, but they're asking for us to step up and help guide them to these right choices. So I think there's never a better time than right now.
Yeah, good point. And look at the options that they have heard of in green home furnishings, if that's the term they prefer to use. People understand about Energy Star. People understand about reclaimed wood and recycled content. People understand about organic fabrics, but there are those are all terms that are easy to understand from other contexts, and these things that are more specific to our industry, we do need to provide more education about. We need to explain what certified wood is and why, how it helps to save the forests of the world. We need to explain that rapidly renewables are also helping to save the forests of the world, etc. So these terms, this shows what terms they are familiar with, and this shows what their priorities are when they're buying furniture. Besides, of course, they're looking for a piece of furniture that is to their taste and within their budget, but they're interested in its being made from durable materials, and they're even interested in its being certified by a third party as having been made from durable materials. Also, similarly, of course, about non-toxic materials. They really want their furniture to be made of these materials that they can feel good about not harming the planet. In general, beyond actual purchasing, we are interested in knowing about purchase interest. How likely would you be to buy eco-friendly home furnishings if, of course, you like the style and the cost is within your budget? So note now that 97% of people are likely to try eco-friendly home furnishings. That has gone up from in the 30s when we began doing this research to about 65% 5 years ago, and it is way up now. Everybody is interested in this stuff. Remember that this is a national survey, so you can't think, oh, it's only those people in California. No, our survey surveyed people who are of the age that buy furniture, of the income range that owns and furnishes their own homes, but they're evenly spread across the country. So everybody is interested no matter where they are. And we're going to look at a couple of specifics here. They're interested in certified wood. 90% of them, or over 90%, that is 96%, are likely to choose certified wood if they like the style and the price is right for them. They are willing to pay more. And that is something that we have seen changing. So that now 86% are willing to pay more. In fact, and you might will want to comment on this, Michela, 86% will pay extra for a certified eco attribute, though of course it's not a huge amount extra that they'll pay. A lot of them will pay a bit more.
Yeah, so we're going to continue to see this increase, Susan, because I can tell you that we asked similar questions over the last 10 years with this forum. And the more that we, of course, have all of the evidence we need that we must take measures to improve the planet, the more people see the benefit. Also, let me say that the reason that this number is growing, as well as the percentage growing, is because it's kind of under, I don't mean to oversimplify this, but in that you get what you pay for. So when they understand the durability, the safety, the environmental friendliness, then that kind of a premium is really not a premium at all, because the difference in not doing this, right, means that you're going to have to replace that piece, and that takes away the sustainability factor completely if it's going into a landfill or you're donating it 2 years later, rather than investing in something that you know will last and is safe. And so it's the price value ratio really evens out quite nicely. I think we're going to see this number go to 20% in the next 2 years.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. That's very good to hear. And I guess we should not be surprised, because one of the exciting things that one of the things that excites me is that the number of people who will pay nothing more has been going down steadily over the years. So seeing that it is going to go up to willingness to pay even more is encouraging, because some of the innovations that are necessary to maintain life as we know it on the planet are going to cost an investment. When we started doing this research, we thought that it might be useful to drill down on some categories. And in 2017, we started asking, how interested would you be particularly in knowing about materials or chemicals for children's products? And of course, 90% were interested in materials, 87% were interested in chemicals. And we expanded those questions to ask about other sustainability issues. So not only materials and chemicals, but also labor practices and traceability, being able to determine where the product came from, and just the story of it, it's being a viable story or not. Those things have remained high in children's furniture, and also, probably unsurprisingly, they're very high in bedroom furniture. But I was a little surprised to see this level of interest in those eco attributes extend to the living room and to the dining room, so that people are interested in knowing about the furnishings that they're getting for any room in the house. And people are interested in their designers having this information and being able to share this information with them. Our panel this year, of course, Michela, is particularly design focused. These are consumers who are design minded, I think.
Correct. Susan, yeah. So in this panel, we have 35% are in the design trade and 65% who are not. We can look at this data, separating the two or combining them. The interesting thing here is that, well, as you point out, 50% of us hire a designer. That this group is already predisposed to understanding how important design is and all those things. And I don't just mean the color and the aesthetic, I mean good design. I mean every single aspect, of which, of course, green and eco-friendly and environmentally safe are a part. So they have already, there's a filter and a penchant for them to want to be very mindful and partner with a designer who understands these basic principles.
Yeah, great. And that represents a huge opportunity for the designers in our audience. Whereas 5 years ago, 52% of the people we were surveying were interested in working with a certified green interior designer. And that would be, for instance, somebody who'd taken our Green Leaders course and earned that certification. Now it has gone up to 63% that are interested in that. We asked people about their experience working with an eco designer, a designer who has this sort of expertise. And 59% of them, so nearly 60% of them, had never heard of such a thing. They'd never heard of a designer with this kind of expertise. But 63% of them were interested or very interested in working with a designer that has that kind of expertise. So this market is full of potential. And I hope that the designers in our audience today will seize that potential and take it from here to serve their clients with the kind of information that they can glean from taking our Green Leaders course or being involved with us or just making use of our website. I bet you see a lot of potential in this too, Michela.
I do. I have to say, if you go back to that number of the percent of people who want to learn more,
Yes.
and number here of people who are interested and even very interested, right, in working with a designer who understands that, those two things are pretty inextricably linked. In other words, there isn't anybody who is going to take the place of a good designer with this kind of background and certification understanding. That's why I say it's an opportune time for the design trade to really capitalize on this by making sure that this clientele knows that the designer is there to do this kind of education with and for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. So with that, I want to see if our audience has any questions about the presentation we have made of this research or about anything else. So if y'all have
I'm hoping we haven't lost you, Susan.
Hello, I wonder if y'all can hear me now.
I can hear you, Susan.
Good, Michela. My computer went offline, so I have lost signal with my computer, but I've got the telephone. I wonder if the audience can hear you and if the audience can hear me.
It's a good question. I did type in a chat if you can see and hear me when I saw you were frozen, and I haven't seen any response.
Okay, Angie says that the audience can hear me and hear you. So dear audience, please ask your questions. And to do that, see if you can unmute yourself and ask your question. If you cannot unmute yourself, you will send it in by the chat, which I cannot see because my computer died or signal died. But I'm glad y'all can hear me instructing you to ask questions, and I wonder if someone would see if you can unmute yourself and ask a question. And alternately, Michela, you might want to just make some concluding comments.
Yes, happily. So it's, technology. Just so you know, when your screen froze, it said your battery was very low and it plugged in your computer. So that may or not be the problem. But
that is the problem, and I don't have my computer cord. Apparently, I have lost it.
Okay, so let me add some of these important things. So if you are in the design trade, if you are an interior designer, an architect, an interior architect, there is no better time than the present. The whole premise upon which Dwell was founded was to champion the design profession. And so I certainly have remained committed to that, because the fact of the matter is, with regard to homes built in this country, and this was data through 2018, only 5% of the homes built included an architect. With regard to interior design, it was only 40% of homes designed and purchase of furniture engaged an interior designer. So while that's far better than the engagement of an architect, we still have a ways to go. So I would go back to all of those pieces, Susan, that you so well put about the issues at hand that we all must pay attention to, whatever we want to call it. If people are more comfortable with climate change than global warming, if you're more comfortable with sustainability than eco-friendly or green, it is not the word that is so critical, it's the action. And so with a consuming population, the majority of whom, and we know it's the majority because of this statistically projectable panel, who want more information, who want to learn, who want to understand how to do this, we, organizations, you as designers, have this opportunity to make it easy, effortless, and fun. You really can. This does not have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be sending a separate, tome of a manual or anything of the like. It's really being able to communicate that. In working with one of my clients at MOCA Plus, Susan, Amberleaf Home, who is soon to be your member, their commitment to 10 years of their lifetime has been all about this, and now they too are understanding how important that communication is, and that is what we're working on together.
Great. Well, we at Sustainable Furnishings Council are happy to help when designers or manufacturers or any want help communicating what their commitment is. So thank you all for having been on today's webinar, and I encourage you to be in touch with us with your questions. We will relay them to Michela, and I'm sure, Michela, you will be interested in answering them in follow-up to this. And I certainly will be too. So many thanks to all for having joined us for this webinar, and especially to you, Michela, for being our guest and being our generous surveyor for this year. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'm putting into chat, Susan, my email address, Michela@MOCA+.
Oh, very good.
So
great.
Happy to answer those questions, and certainly as a board member of SFC only will be able to underscore everything that you've said, Susan.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Michela. Thank you all.
All right.
And we'll do another webinar next month, and hopefully we'll have the technology better handled then. So join us again. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.